What's up, everybody? It's the wife behind the knife. It's Lauren. Um, this is going to be kind of weird because I don't do solo videos like this, and I'm not used to talking in front of a camera. So I'm going to try and make this as natural as I can possibly make it. But I'm not an influencer. I don't do things like this. But Mike's in the other room with the babies just playing. You might hear a baby come in here and duke around, and probably not. But last night we were having a talk, and the topic of what I was doing before I met Mike came up, and the way, like, the position that I was in my life at that point. Because we both came from very different mental states and traumas at the time that we met. And I don't talk about it very much with people. I don't really talk about it with my family, or like I've really only talked about it with him. But I think for you to really understand me and get a better depth about who I am, that it might be beneficial for me to kind of tell you more about me, and not where I came from, but what I had experienced in life up until I met Mike. And that's the story that I'm going to tell you today. And I'm going to make it as short as I possibly can. I think Mike said that I have a limit of like 20 minutes before it just gets too long. So I'm going to try my best. So when I met Mike, so we're going back in July of 2018, mid-July, when I officially met him, and when we started talking. I want to say like July 18th, but I might be wrong. I had already been single. I'd been single for a year up until that point. In August of 2017, I ended a very long-term relationship. I was with this person for about 6 years. I think we were about to celebrate our 6-year anniversary, which is, I think, what made it even harder to end it, because we had time in. We had, we had quite a bit of time under our belts, and I think that just makes it harder to end a relationship. But it was time. It was way overdue, and it really should have ended about 3 years before it actually did. And either I was going to end it, or we were just going to go on being miserable. And so I ended it. And it was bad. It was very sad, but it was a freeing moment for me. I had to end it. So you're going to hear me breathing a little bit heavily because my asthma's acting up, because there's just so much friggin' pollen outside. I'm okay. I'm not in distress. But I ended this relationship with this man, and we were high school sweethearts, but it was time. So when I did that, I embarked on this journey of kind of rediscovery and finding out who I was outside of a relationship. So I did that. And this relationship was, and I didn't realize it until I started communicating with other men, and I realized just how affection starved I was, and how crazy obsessed I was with trying to gain some kind of affection and attention, honestly, because I felt like I was really being starved of that. So I did. And I'm going to make this as vague as I possibly can be without saying what I actually want to say, partially because I don't know if I'm ready to fully disclose this yet, and I'm not sure I'm quite comfortable with it just yet, But as vague as I can possibly say, I embarked and I began to partake in something that was very harmful to me and harmful to my body. And I wasn't drinking and I wasn't doing drugs. It wasn't anything like that. But I was embarking on and I was partaking in certain activities and certain interactions with people that put me at risk and my well-being and my health at risk. And I did this for like a year and change, like right up until I met Mikey. And it became an addiction, I guess you could say. I say that loosely because I don't actually know. I did look it up earlier, and I believe I did meet some of the criteria for being addicted to this thing in specific. But at the time, either I wasn't aware or didn't care, honestly. Because in my mind, I was owning myself and I was owning who I was, and I was having fun at first. And I was just kind of me living my life. I was 23 and actually, no, I think I was 20. I was about 21, 22 years old, and I'm 26 now. So in my head, I was thinking, this is what I was doing. I was living my life and just trying to have fun. I was going to work. I was a housekeeper at the time. And I would go to work, I would come home and contact certain individuals, meet up with those individuals, go do what I was doing with them. And this went on a pretty regular basis. But things escalated to the point where I was hurt physically and emotionally. And I honestly don't know how to say this. I don't tell a lot of people this. I've worked through this in therapy and everything. Shortly after I met Mike, I returned to therapy, and I've been in and out of therapy most of my young adult life. But I think like a year into knowing Mikey, I started feeling some type of way about what I had been doing. Now, when I met Mikey, all of this stopped. I honestly, right before I met Mikey, I had this sort of come to Jesus moment with myself. I'm not Christian, but I had this come into myself moment where I said, you have to stop. And if you don't stop, something is going to happen to you. Something very bad. You're going to wind up on the news. Or you won't wind up on the news because you'll never be seen from or heard from again. I was traveling pretty far distances to meet people. Not really telling people where I was going. I would make up lies and say that I was meeting up a friend or something, or gonna, stay the night at a friend's or something. When really what I was doing was going to meet people and put myself in danger. And again, I'm trying to be as vague about this as I possibly can be, but I feel like it might be kind of obvious at this point if you've made it this far into the video. If you feel like you know what it is that I'm talking about, because I don't know if I'm fully comfortable saying it just yet. If you feel like you know what it is, don't comment it or anything. You can feel free to send Mikey an email, and I would happily disclose, you know, I'd happily talk about it, because I feel like this particular addiction that I'm talking about isn't talked about enough, and I don't think it gets nearly as much research as it should. Therefore, it stands to reason that I should talk about it, because it's not that I'm ashamed, but it's also for the purpose of, I mean, I'm not trying to stand on a soapbox or anything, but in light of, you know, recent events of, you know, women going missing, and like the woman who just went missing on the road trip, and it stands to reason that this needs to be talked about, because I was putting myself in some pretty grave danger. Not completely protecting myself. Interpret that as you will. But I stopped right before I met Mikey, and then I met Mikey, and then everything just kind of fell into place from there. So now we're fast forwarding 3 years later, and I have a wonderful place, and I have him, we're engaged, we're getting married, and we have babies, and I mean the ferrets, we don't have babies. But sometimes it'll just kind of re-enter my head every now and again that, you know, you did this, you know, this was a thing that happened to you, these were several things that happened to you, and I own it. I own the mistakes that I made, and I try to do better by the younger women in my life that I know. Like, I have 2 sisters, and they're about to be 16. So I feel like I owe it to them to say, you know, just be smart about meeting certain people and making yourself, not making yourself, when you're in a situation where you feel like you're not safe, or that you feel like you can't get away. Like, I try to educate them about things like that, because there was an instance where I found myself in that situation. So last night, we had this conversation about this topic, and I went to sleep that night. I went to sleep last night, and I had probably the worst nightmare that I've ever had about what happened to me last night. And I don't know if it's because I was anticipating making this video, or if it's just because I talked about it, because I still have those nightmares, not on a very regular basis, but sometimes when my stress level is really, really high, and there's just so many things going on, and I'm overwhelmed, and I feel like I'm drowning, then I have these nightmares where I'm being physically hurt, physically assaulted. Actually, now that I'm mentioning it, I should put a trigger warning on this video, so that's probably what I'm going to do. Because Mike wanted me to do this all by myself. I'm not, he's not in the room right now. I don't even know if he can hear me. And, but last night I had probably one of the worst nightmares that I'd had in a while about that. And, like, I saw faces and the rooms, and it put me in a really bad place today. So all I wanted to do when I got up this morning was just pull the covers over my head and just go back to sleep. I wanted to call out of work so badly. I almost did, because I didn't know if I could handle it today, because you know what I do, I have to be physically present. I have to entertain and take care of somebody. But I decided against it. I got up, I had some coffee, and I sat out in the living room. So every morning when I get up, you know, I have my coffee, I'm sitting out here. And for like that hour after I'm up, that's like my me time. You know, that's my me time to kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. So I'll watch videos that kind of center me and get me in the right tone for the day. Like maybe something educational, like historical, or something just that interests me. So I did that, and I felt better. But before I went to go take a shower, I came back in here and Mikey was still sleeping, and I told him, you know, I had a really bad nightmare, and I just want you to tell me that I'm going to be okay today, and that I'm safe, and that nobody's going to come and get me, and that nothing is going to happen to me. So immediately his eyes like snapped open, and he rolled over and he looked at me, and he said, absolutely, you're safe. Absolutely. You are absolutely fine. Nothing is going to happen to you. Nobody's going to come get you. And I know that when I enter this mindset, when I'm becoming hyper vigilant and hyper aware of who and what is around me, that's how I know my anxiety is getting really bad, because I find myself kind of just looking all around me, like, and I'm already very hyper aware of my surroundings already, like like whenever I see shows about like stalkers and things like that, I'm like, I already would have noticed that, because I'm already doing a complete 360 around me looking for people that could be watching me, because it's like programmed into my head to do that after some of the encounters that I had before I met Mikey. So I went to work and I got into my routine, and that actually helped. I did my usual stuff, you know, I'm cleaning and I'm doing some organizing, and I'm taking care of my client, and I was taking my client out today. We went for a walk at the park, and I felt better. I was a little bit weary about that at first, but it actually really helped. You know, I'm just looking at the lake and I'm looking at the water and I'm listening to the crickets around me, and my client is looking right at me, like this close to me, and my client's smiling at me, and I felt better. So we went back to my client's house, and then I went home, and I feel fine now, but a small part of me is still kind of afraid to go to sleep tonight, because those nightmares really do take it out of me. But I feel like talking about it is going to help, and that's what brought us to this, where we both collectively said, you know, why don't we make this a video and maybe not use it as a teachable moment, but just try and get something off my chest and use it as an opportunity for you to really get to know me, because Mikey has done a lot of mental health videos and he's so open and honest about it. But then you look at me and I'm just kind of over here, you know, doing whatever. And that's not really me. It's not really the way that I am, because I'm not used to being in front of a camera, but I wanted to use this opportunity to change that. And I think now that I'm actually doing it, I don't feel so scary about it. So I think I'm going to make this a regular thing. So I think I'm actually running out of time now, because I think I've rambled for a little too long about this. But basically, in a nutshell, what I want to say is there are things that happen to me. There are things and situations that I put myself in that I had no business being in or putting myself in. And I would definitely happily accept emails to Mikey for me if anybody wants to discuss it further. And maybe at some point I wouldn't mind disclosing this further. And because I do carry consequences of my actions from the past today still for life, and I'm going to carry it for life. I carry a consequence with me. And I'm not really gonna disclose that right now, but in a nutshell, this is really what I wanted to say. So I'm gonna leave it at this, and it kind of feels weird to leave it at that because I honestly could go on about this forever. So we could make this like a two-parter. I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. So I guess that's it. You know, that's me. That's the person who I was before I met Mikey. And believe me, those are two vastly different people. You know, I'm not that woman that I was before. You know, I'm vastly different. I'm much happier. I'm much healthier. But it gets better. And I think that's all I can really say about it. It just gets better. You have to do the work, but it does get better. So I want to sign off because I can hear Mikey rolling around out there trying to tell me that's 20 minutes. So why are you opening the door?
What did you say about me?
I said that I can hear you rolling around on the other side of the door.
Yeah,
You didn't let me do my outro.
I miss you.
I know. I don't think they saw it.
Take it out.
I don't think they... No. You're leaving me.
Go for it.
But, like Mikey always says, give me your arm. Never give up.
No,
Never surrender. And I'm not going to show my chest.
No.
But, we love you guys, and we're going to upload this now, and then I'm not going to look at it again probably till tomorrow because I'm nervous enough already, so bye.